So let's get going. 5 past 5. Let's jump into these questions. Before we start going through the answers, I just want to ask you about your quiz that you did on Thursday. How do you feel it went? So 0, it went very badly. You didn't understand anything. And 10, it went really well. You found it nice and easy. Give me an idea in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and talk to me. But I want to know how you found the quiz. Oh, we have a 10. Awesome. Okay. Gershon got a 7. Cool, there's some nice high marks here, guys. Keep on going. If you found a 0, you can say 0. There's no shame. So just sort of give me an idea. Ah, you weren't able to join. Okay, hopefully it'll be easier on Thursday and we'll be able to get you on. Okay, we have a couple of 6s. Keon, can I pick on you? Why did you choose a 6? What about it sort of made it feel a little bit trickier as a quiz? Oh, Kia, you also weren't able to join. Okay, we'll make sure it's working for you on Thursday. All right. Okay. All right, let's start going through these questions. I'm just going to turn my camera off so that you're not staring at my ceiling, and we're going to start going through these dudes. Okay, so I saw in our chat that we actually had an answer to question 1, which was from Kia, and that was 175.5, which was 100% right. So a big well done. It is quite a tough question. So if you did not get that answer, I'm going to try and talk you through some of the things that could have gone wrong. So let's start. When we're dealing with a distance, speed, time triangle, we've got 3 things that we need to place. We need to place distance, we need to place speed, and we need to place time. What is going to go on the top of my triangle, D, S, or T?
D.
Yes, thank you. Okay, and then at the bottom, we've got S and T. Okay, let's try and sort of break through what we've got over here. So a car traveled at a speed of 54 kilometers per hour. So my speed is 54. And he traveled for 3¼ hours. So my time is 3¼ hours. And I'm trying to find the distance. So what is my formula going to be? What is distance going to be equal to? What divided by what, or what times what?
Speed times time.
Yes, well done. Speed times time. Excellent. Okay, so now you could write that just as the fraction as it is. You just need to be careful on your calculator. So the first thing is we know our speed is 54. And then when we're working with time, if you're using your calculator, you have to push the shift key before you push the fraction key. And if you do that, you will see you land up getting 3 little squares. And so then you can put in your whole number and you can put in your fraction in the other 2 blocks. If you don't push the shift key and you just put it in as a number and a fraction, it doesn't work it out correctly for you. It actually thinks it's trying to say 3¼ and everything gets a bit messy. So if you're putting it in straight as 3¼ please make sure you're doing this on your calculator. Everyone just double check that you know how to do that. And if you don't, let me know. Kia, I see you are unmuted. Do you want to add something or ask a question or answer something?
Oh, no, sorry, no.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. I might pick on you for question 2 though. Okay, another thing we could do is we could change this to an improper fraction. So we could say, well, 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So that's actually 13/4. And I can write that as 13/4. So either we can write it as a mixed fraction, and we just need to be careful on our calculator. We need to be careful of this cloud. Or we can write it as an improper fraction. And now if you put on your calculator, 54 times 13/4, you will see you get a beautiful answer of 175,5 and it's distance, which means our units are kilometers. And that would be our full answer. I see we had a raised hand, but then it disappeared. Was there a question that had popped up?
It's me, ma'am.
Oh, hi, yes.
Awesome. So for those who are also struggling, we can also write 3 3/4 as 3 1/4 as 3.25. So you convert the 1/4. If you can help me, ma'am. 1/4. 1/4 as 0.25. Meaning that the 3 1/4 will be 3.25. Then you can use that.
Okay. Oh, Unam, I see you say hello. Hello. Okay, so that is our first question. Now, our second question, we have to do a little bit of work because we can't get our answer straight away. We've got two different parts to this question. We have this part over here, which is the beginning, and then it transitions into this part over here. So there's two different things we would have to answer for this question. The first part of the question is we have been given time and we have been given speed. And so we need to know what is our distance that this person has traveled. That is the first part of this question. So can anyone tell me what the distance of the first part, so that yellow part that I've highlighted, can someone tell me what the distance is? You can either write it in the chat or you can talk to me, but I want to know what that distance is. If a car was traveling for 2 hours at a speed of 72 kilometers per hour.
Is it?
Got very excited there. Yes. Okay. So let's have a look. It's if we have our distance is equal to speed times time. Okay. Our distance is speed is 72. Our time is 2 hours. And so our distance is going to be 144 kilometers. Okay. Remember this triangle here. This is our friend. Let's just go over what the different formulas are for those of you who are struggling. Distance, so that's the one at the top. We would say speed times time. If we were looking for speed, then that's over here. We would say distance divided by, need an equal sign, divided by time. And if we wanted time, we would say that's distance divided by speed. Okay, so if we have our triangle, we always know what's part of. Okay, so that's the first part of the question. Now the second part of the question, which is in green, it's saying how long would the journey take at an average speed of 64 kilometers per hour? So it's the same journey as our yellow journey, which means our distance is 144 kilometers and our new speed is 64 kilometers per hour. Which means I'm wanting to know what my time is. Please, can you tell me what my time is? I'll give you a little bit of time. If you think you have the answer and you want to tell it to us, so not just write in the chat, just put your hand up and then we can call on you. It'll make it easier for us to call on you. Just try and find the little hand up emoji. Oh, hi, Lutanda. Welcome to the lesson. Wenika, can you give us our answer?
Does the time happen to be 9,216?
9,000?
Yeah.
I think you, oh, you know what I think you did? I think you multiplied.
Yeah, I took the distance multiplied by the speed.
Okay. Do you see why that's wrong, though?
Yes, I see that now.
Okay, but that's the whole point of these lessons, is for us to try and learn. So thank you for answering. I loved it. There were lots of other people who would have done the same. Time is distance divided by speed. Okay, and so I'm seeing an answer in our chat over here. Nokubonga got 2.25, which is absolutely right. So our time would be 144 divided by 64. which is 2,25 hours. But I don't really want that to be my answer. I want my answer to be hours and minutes. Can someone tell me what my minutes would be? Who are my brain buffs here? I know it's going to be 2 hours, but how many minutes is it going to be? No takers. Okay, we've got 145 minutes as one of our options. We've got 25 minutes. 25 minutes is a very, so lots of people are saying 25 minutes, super common mistake. It's not 25 minutes. Oh my goodness. Awandi's got it right, 15. That is excellent. Well done. Okay, let's chat about why it's 15. Because everyone's like, huh, why is it not 25? So if we have a look at this over here, okay, when we're working in decimal places like a number like this, those decimals actually are in hundreds. Like I can go all the way up to 2,99. But time isn't in hundreds. Time is in 60s. So what this means, just going to make it complicated for a second, is it means it's got 2 hours, and then the minutes is actually this part over here, which is 0,25. But it's not in hundreds, it's in 60s. So we actually have to say 0,25 or a quarter. It's like a quarter of an hour. That's another way to think of it as 15 minutes times 60. So whenever we have to go from a decimal to time, we multiply it by 60 because there are 60 minutes in an hour. And that would give us 15. And so our time here would be 2 hours and 15 minutes. Another way to think about it is just to think that 0,25 is a quarter, and a quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. So however you would like to think about it, you can think of it that way. Okay. Let's move on to what we are going to deal with today, which is some ratio. And I think some of you are doing ratio in class at the moment, which is going to hopefully be helpful for us. I just want to chat about something that's happening on the left. Let's get let's get an orange. I don't think we've used orange before. Okay, so a ratio does not have to give the actual quantities being compared. So that's meaning like if I'm dealing with like 10 oranges and 4 grapefruit, I don't have to actually have 10 oranges and 4 grapefruit. I'm allowed to simplify ratio. It's the same way like fractions, how we're allowed to simplify. And so 10 to 8 is exactly the same as 5 to 4, because if I multiplied both of these by 2, I would get 10 to 8. So we can kind of think of ratio and fractions in a similar way, in the way that we can simplify them. And they are called equivalent ratios, the same way as 10 over 8 is equal to 5 over 4, and we would call those equivalent fractions. Okay, so 5 to 4 is a ratio in its simplest form, which means I can't simplify it further. So if I wanted to simplify A, which is 7 to 21, what would it simplify down to? What would be its simplest version? And just remember to use the hand emoji if you are wanting to speak.
Can it be 1:3?
Absolutely is 1:3. Okay, so for those of you who have no idea how that happened, we have to think, good, there are great answers coming in the chat. We have to think what number can go into 7 that can also go into 21. So we're looking for the number that can go into both of those. And in this case, it's 7. So I've divided both by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 21 divided by 7 is 3. Okay. Next one, very similar. The only difference here is that I have 3 numbers instead of 2 numbers. So what is that going to simplify down to? Wendy's. I see your hand. You can answer.
And the 2 is to 4 to 5.
2 to 4 to 5. I'm happy with the 2 and the 5. Gersham's knocked you there in the chat. Did you see?
It's
Do you see
8,
why? It is 8. 8. Yeah, good. Okay, 2 to 8 to 5. So we have to think, well, what number goes into all of these? And in this case, we're going to divide everything by 4. Now, if you can't see that straight away and your brain is like having a complete meltdown right now, that's fine. You're allowed to do this in steps. So because they're all even numbers, we could first say, well, let's divide all of them by 2. Okay, so we'd have 4, 16, and 10, but they're still all even numbers. So let's try and divide them by 2 again. And then you'll see we get to the same answer. So if it takes you more than one step, that's absolutely fine. That's not a problem. Okay. When we look at a question like C, C gets sneaky because we're not actually allowed to compare ratios that are not dealing with the same units. They need to be the same unit. And so in this case, we would want to make everything days. So we've got 20 days. And how many days would there be in 4 weeks? Yes?
28.
There would be 28 days. Exactly. So our first mission is we want to compare them to the same units. So we want to have days and days. And then we can simplify them. So what would our final answer be over here?
Is it 5:7?
It is definitely 5
Well
is to 7.
done.
And the cool thing with ratio is once you're at your simplest form for ratio, you're allowed to drop the units. It's a special rule with ratio because technically they divide away from each other. And so as soon as you've simplified it, you're allowed to drop the units and we just have our numbers. Cool. Nice job. Okay. Let's see how this one goes. Oh, sorry. Does anyone need to sit here any longer? Am I rushing anyone? If you ever need to go back, you just let me know. Harry has 6 times as many sweets as Megan, and together they have 84 sweets. How many sweets does Harry have? Okay, there are lots of different ways you could go about doing this. But the easiest thing is to try and draw yourself a picture. Okay, I'm going to show you 2 different ways. I'm going to show you my favorite way and then a way that some of you might find easier. So Harry has 6 times as many sweets as Megan. So I've got Harry and I've got Megan. And so if Megan has got 1 sweet, then Harry has 6 times as many as Megan. So Harry is going to have 6 sweets if Megan has 1 sweet. Okay, so that's my 6 sweets over there. That's 1 sweet over there. Together, they have got 84 sweets. How many sweets does Harry have? Okay, so at the moment, some of your junior schools may have done things like this. They're called block methods. Some people did it like this, some people didn't. So if this is not something that works in your brain, that's also fine. I'll show you a different way as well. But for some people, they find this easier. So if I have a look here, if I wanted to count how many blocks I have, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks. Okay, and so 7 blocks is 84 sweets. So if I want to know what 1 block is, what would I do? Who thinks they can tell me what I would do? If 7 blocks is 84 sweets, then how many sweets would 1 block be? Yeah? Oh, Andes?
Would it be 84 divided by 7, which is 12?
Good. It would be exactly. It would be 84 divided by 7. Good. And as long as it's also got it in the chat over there, which means it would be 12 sweets. Okay. Which means that Megan is sitting there with 12 sweets because she's got 1 block, but Harry has got 6 blocks. And so 6 blocks would now be 12 times 6, which gives us 72 sweets. And so then we can find out how many sweets Harry has. So you can definitely, this is called a block method. Sometimes it makes some ratio questions a little bit easier, but some people don't find it easier. And if you're one of those who doesn't, that's also fine. Okay. Another way to do a question like this is to actually use the trick method that we used the other day. So Harry and Megan. Oh, no, well done. It was after, well, 70 was very close, but almost there. So we've got Harry and Megan. And we know that Harry has got 6 times as many sweets as Megan. And together they have 84 sweets. Okay, so together our units would be 7. So we're going to do it in a very similar way. It's just the setup is different. So 84 divided by 7, which gives us 12. Okay, and that's just telling us what 1 unit would be, which means this is going to be our 12. And then we do the same thing we did last time, where you divide up and times over, and you would get 72. That would be another way. Last way that we could do a question like this is we can look at this as a fraction. So if I want to know how many sweets Harry has, I know in total there are 7, okay, and that Harry has got 6. So I want to know what is 6 over 7 times 84. And that would give me 72. And all of these ways, all 3 of these ways, they do exactly the same thing. All they're doing is they're dividing by the total. So we divide it by 7, and then we times it by 6. They're all exactly the same. So I want you to sort of figure out which way you prefer and work with that as we do more questions later today. Okay, those who are unmuted, do you have questions? Gershom? Pomalelo? Nope.
No. Alwandes has a question.
There's a mistake. Sorry.
No problem.
Okay,
Okay.
no problem.
So I want you to think about what we've just done now, and I want you to try and divide this 200 Rand into the ratio of 3 to 7. So it's not exactly the same as what we've just done, but it's similar. So I want you to try and divide that ratio into 200 Rand into the ratio 3 to 7. And for those of you who are still learning with the blocks, I'm going to try and help a little bit. Okay, Volenda, don't panic. Hopefully the second one will sort of cement things for you. So what I've got happening over here, that's my 3 and that's my 7. And then try and think, both of those need to give me my 200 Rand. That's my helping hand over there. Just going to give you 1 more minute. Okay, so if we were doing it this block way, how many blocks do I have in total? How many blocks are there in total?
10.
10. I've got 10 blocks. Okay, 10 blocks is 200 Rand. Okay, I want to know what 1 block is. How do I find out what 1 block is if 10? Good. I've gotten a lovely answer. It just came directly to me, but it's absolutely right. That means that 1 block is going to be 20 Rand, because what we're saying here is 200 divided by 10. Excellent. Okay, so 1 block is 20 Rand. Now I need to find out what the 3 is, and I need to find out what the 7 is. So that means that 3 blocks, what are 3 blocks going to become? If 1 block is 20 Rand. Yes, Sawandis?
60.
Yes,
60.
60.
Nice.
Good, Joyce. And if I want to know what 7 blocks is, if 1 block is 20 Rand?
140.
1 for 40.
Yes, there we go, guys. So our ratio of 3 to 7 is going to be 60 to 140, because that was our 3 blocks and that was our 7 blocks. And if we have our blocks, we can never go wrong. It sort of makes life a little bit easier. If you're finding ratios super easy and you don't feel like you need to use the blocks, that's also absolutely fine. Then in this case, you would have said 3 over 10 times 200, which gives you your 60 Rand, and 7 over 10 times 200, which gives you your 140 Rand. And then you have your ratio. Okay, but both ways you get to the same answer. So you must do the one that you feel comfortable with. Okay, let's try another one. See how this goes. Okay. So this is dealing with 2 questions that deal with the last little things that we've done. So the first one, you're going to divide 330 into this ratio. So think about how we've just done that. And then the last one I want you to do here is 20 minutes to 2 hours. And if you have your answers, you're welcome to post them in the chat, and then we can see if they're right, if they're wrong, if you've made the same mistake as somebody else. So as soon as you've got an answer, just post them in the chat for us so we can see what's going on. Just going to give a little helping hand here for those of you who are still struggling, because some of you may not have done ratio in class just yet. Okay, we have our answers coming into the chat. Okay, seeing some awesome answers. I'm just going to start writing the answer to the first one on the board, but I'm not going to talk too loudly. So those of you still working on question 2, you just keep on working. Okay, so if you got that answer for number 1, you're doing great. Number 2 should be nice and quick. Just remember, we have to make things be the same units before we simplify ratio.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
can I ask something?
absolutely. I love it.
Ma'am, aren't we dividing 11 with 4?
For this first one.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, so the first important thing is once you have what one block is, then we know, so like one block over here, for example, like that's 30. So if I want to know what all of these together would be, then each one of those blocks would be 30. So that's the same as me saying 30 times 4, which gives me 120. And like here, one block is 30, which means there's 2 over there. So that would be 30 times 2, which means that these together would be 60. Does that make sense why we multiply?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Okay, and we've got some answers coming in here for question 2. Let's have a look. So question 2, we've got 20 minutes to 2 hours. Okay, and we need to make those both minutes. So we've got 20 minutes to 120 minutes. So now they're both minutes. Let me write minutes. Otherwise I'm being a bit lazy. Okay, and then we just need to simplify it. And so we get a beautiful answer of 1 is to 6, which is great. Okay, cool. Let's move on down. We've got a little puzzle and then we're going to move into proportion. I tried to make this puzzle a little bit easier than Thursday because we didn't get any right answers. If it makes you feel better, I gave it to the grade 10s and only 1 person got it right. So it was a hard puzzle. But this one, I've tried to make it a little bit easier. So let's see how everyone does. I'm just wanting to find out what this answer is over here. So as soon as you think you have the answer, put it in the chat so that we can see who gets there first. And I'm going to help you because it's your first one like this. Don't forget about BODMAS. Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that too. You're helping a lot of people here by giving these answers though. Oh, it's close, but it's not right. Oh, Gershom, yes, the answer is absolutely 102. Well done.
Well
Oh,
done.
sorry, you were so
That is so
close.
spot on.
Oh, nice job. Okay, so our current winner of our puzzles is Gershom. Let's see if you can maintain your title on Thursday or if someone takes over, but it is definitely 102. I'm just going to go over why it's 102 and why 120 was not right. So the first one over here, we know these all must be the same, which means, oh gosh, let's get a different color happening in there. Each flower needs to be 20. So 20, 20, 20, which means this flower is 20. And so that means that these two together must be 10. So our blues are 5. And that means that this yellow must be 2. And so it's 2 plus 5 times 20. But because of BODMAS, we have to do that first. 5 times 20 is 100, and 2 plus 100 is 102. Well done, Gershom. That was awesome.
So great, eh?
Oh, sorry, Aratila, I sent you a direct message that was meant to go to everyone. Okay. All right, cool. Let's go on to our next little bit. We're going to look at some proportion. Okay, this seems like it's super confusing, but it's actually really nice and easy. So don't panic. And I'm going to go through it nice and quickly because there's nothing stressful about this. Direct proportion is basically the same way that we've been dealing with ratio. So all the things that you've been dealing with ratio up until this point is direct proportion. And when we're working with direct proportion, both things are going up or both are going down. So if you think about it like this, if you bought, like if we look at example 1 over here, so if we were looking at bags of popcorn, okay, obviously if you think about this, the more bags of popcorn you buy, the more it would cost. And so both are going up. So the more you buy something, the more it would cost. And in direct proportion, we always have a ratio. So here, 1 bag of popcorn is 5 Rand, which means 3 bags of popcorn would be 15 Rand because we are timesing that by 3 and we are timesing that by 3. So direct proportion, we always would multiply everything the same way. So in this case, we have something called a constant ratio. So whenever we're dealing with direct proportion, we're dealing with ratio. Okay. And if you think about it, this makes sense. This little picture over here, the more bags of popcorn you buy, the more expensive it's going to get. So when we're dealing with direct proportion, we deal with this linear relationship where one increases, the other increases. Okay, don't panic about all these things going on here at the moment. I just want to sort of make this as simple as possible. So let's have a look at this question. At a local supermarket, cashew nuts are sold at 240 Rand per kilogram. How much would it cost for 75 grams of nuts? So, first question I'm going to ask you is it going to cost, if I buy more cashew nuts, is it going to cost more or would it cost less? As I buy more cashew nuts, is it going to cost more or is it going to cost less?
More.
Yes, good. The more I buy, the more expensive it's going to be. So if the more I buy, the more expensive it's going to be, we're looking at direct proportion. Just a fancy word for ratio. Okay, so this is saying that it's 240 Rand for 1 kilogram. But I want to know how much it's going to be for 750 grams. And my problem is that these guys are not in the same units. So I have to change that kilogram to grams up there. How many grams are in 1 kilogram? You can tell me. How many grams are in a kilogram?
1,000.
1,000.
Yes, there are 1,000, which means that this over here is 1,000 grams. And then, because we're dealing with ratio, we get to do the trick that we learned the other day. We divide up and times over into our calculators. 750 divided by 1,000 times 240, and you get the beautiful answer of 180 Rand. And that is as easy as direct proportion gets. So when we think about direct proportion, think about ratio, think about rate, think about our cheat way. All of those things work with direct proportion. Leslie, do you have a question? No? I see a hand up, but okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
ma'am, before we continue, I wanted to ask, like, if we have grams and then kilograms, do we like transfer? Since we said 1 kg is equal to 1,000 grams, so do we do that?
Yes, you have to make them the same units. So there were different ways you could do this. Let me just get a different color. You could have said 240 to 1, so this is kilograms and this is rands, but then you would have had to change the 750 grams to 0.75 kilograms. So either you change the grams to kilograms or you do like we did here and you change the kilograms to grams, but you would have to do that in your first step. Okay. Great question. Thanks for asking.
Thank you. That is good.
Okay. So to re-explain this, what we're looking at is it's just a fancy way of looking at rate or ratio. Direct proportion is just a fancy way of looking at rate and ratio. So when we're looking at this, we say, well, we've got 240 Rand, and that can get us 1 kilogram of cashew nuts. Okay, that was the original information that we were given from our story. Then we think about it as a ratio because both are increasing. The more cashew nuts I buy, the more expensive it would be. The less cashew nuts I buy, the less expensive it would be. That means it's direct proportion. I have to change my kilograms to grams because I can't compare units that aren't the same thing. I'm not allowed to. So I change my 1 kilogram to 1,000 grams. And then because we're writing it as a ratio, we can do our cheat method that we learned in our, I think our first lesson. You divide up, so 750 divided by 1000, and then we times over, times 240, and that will give us our answer of 180. Okay. Let's have a look at inverse proportion, and then we'll jump back to some questions that look at both of these. Okay. Inverse proportion is different to direct proportion because when one variable increases, the other one decreases. So we have a situation where one's going up and one's going down. Okay, so think about it. Lots of these types of questions are when we're dealing with builders or painters. But basically, if you think about it like this, if you have, let's say you have a pizza in front of you, okay? And it's just you eating your pizza. It's going to take you a certain amount of time. If there were 2 people, so now we have more people, is it going to take more time or less time to finish the pizza?
Less time.
It's going to take less time,
Ah.
right?
Less
Good.
time.
So good, exactly. So the more people we have, the less time it's going to take. And when we have this situation where one's going up and one's going down, it's inverse proportion. Okay, so in this example over here, we're looking at the area of a rectangle that is 30 centimeters squared. So the area of that rectangle, which means that space inside the rectangle is 30 centimeters squared. But I could get 30 centimeters squared with a whole bunch of different ways. Remember when we work out area of a rectangle, it's length times breadth. So 6 times 5 would give me 30. But 3 times 10 will also give me 30. And 2 times 15 will also give me 30. So when we have when we have inverse proportion, when we multiply these together, we always need to get the same number. So 1 times 30 is 30, 2 times 15 is 30, 3 times 10 is 30, 4 times 7.5 is 30, 5 times 6 is 30. And it gives us something that we like to call a constant product. Yes, there we go. Look at
Well
that
done,
chat.
Alwande.
You are way ahead of
Phew.
the crowd. Nice. We have something called a constant product. Okay. Don't panic about what that graph looks like. So let's have a look at this question over here. Well, there's 2 questions, and then we'll jump into some robots if we get a chance. So it takes 96 hours for 3 grape pickers to clear a vineyard. So it takes 96 hours for 3 pickers. So now remember, we need to have a constant product. When we multiply those together, it needs to be the same if we multiply all of these. So we're going to say, well, what is 3 times 96? That is 288. So I know that this answer needs to be 288. So how do I find out what that number would be inside that box? How would I figure that out? Who thinks they can help me? 6 times something is going to give me 288. How do I figure out what that something is? Yes, 200. Yes, guys, I divided by.
Well done.
Nice job. 288 divided by 6. Okay, and that would give me 48. And I could do that the same for all of these. So I know that answer needs to be 288. So 288 divided by 12 would give me 24. And 288 divided by 18 would give me 16. And 288 divided by 12 would give me 24. Okay, so we work with something called a constant product. So let's have a look at this question. It's just written in a... Actually, you know what? We don't need to worry about this question. We can jump to them in the robot questions because there'll be more there. Okay, so we're going to do this a little bit differently because I feel like we were able to talk about the green questions already in this lesson and then we ran out of time. So the ones that I would really like for you to focus on at the moment are our orange questions. And then if you get a chance, you can move into the red. And I'm actually going to leave you with Mr. Shongwe now, and he's going to help you with the rest of these robot questions. If you need any help, he is here for you. But I really would like for you to start working on the 2 orange questions. My hint to you is that one of them is direct proportion and one of them is inverse proportion, and you need to figure out which one it is to figure out what the answer would be. Okay, it's been lovely seeing you guys today, and I will see you on Thursday.